20 seconds. Seconds. 5. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode
Hello.
of the Stormy podcast, where we just talk about Reverse 99 stuff and possibly other games if they come up in between. So, unfortunately, Steampunk X seemed to be a little bit late, so we will have to continue without him, but nonetheless, that shall not stop us.
Yep, we are not going to be stopped.
Yes, exactly. So I will give the word over to Lucky Lux to start off the podcast.
Let's go. Yo, what's going on, guys? I know it's been a while that we didn't have our podcast last time it was scheduled, but hey, we're back. We do have a couple things we do want to talk about. The game, both global and CN. Firstly, of course, TOOTHFAIRY. I think TOOTHFAIRY is a pretty big topic, and then a lot of people who have Voyager are kind of concerned with like who should they use? Do they use both? Like the uptime with confusion. So that'll be kind of the first thing. So what are y'all's thoughts? TOOTHFAIRY, Voyager. How do y'all feel about TOOTHFAIRY and global? What are y'all thinking?
Yeah, I think I can start over here first. But first things first, I just want to ensure that I'm live. If I'm actually live, please someone type something in my chat. Yeah. So I can see it now. Okay, great. Okay, so the first topic we have on hand is going to be Voyager and TOOTHFAIRY. But personally, I think that it's not a comparison between the two, though. I don't think they're quite replaceable. Like one covers the other. I don't think they serve the same function as well. The fact that is that they do have like confusion, but at the same time, I don't think TOOTHFAIRY's main use is about confusion. What do you guys think?
I think, yeah, for sure that TOOTHFAIRY is probably one of the best pulls you could be doing within, well, all the last patches as well as this one, and also probably the next ones, at least for global. However, if you already have Voyager, I personally think, well, no, I have to rephrase it. If you already have Voyager and a good healer, I think it is fine if you don't get her. Like both of them, as you said correctly, can apply confusion, which is, in my opinion, the first part, which is really important. And then, sure, I think the big difference comes in when you have the healing, because if you have Voyager instead of TOOTHFAIRY, you need to put in somewhere a secondary healer. However, I think if you have Voyager, it's also not as important as if you don't have any of those. And what we can always keep in mind is they are specifically for crit teams. I mean, I guess TOOTHFAIRY is a really good healer as well, but if you don't have Lilia, at least currently, like who else do you actually build with full crit, where it just gets that important that you need her? So I think she's certainly one of the best picks currently, but I don't necessarily think she's necessary to the point where your account is ruined forever if you don't get her.
Yeah, so I put out a video talking about that. That if your account wasn't built towards crit characters, then she's not necessarily necessary, because there are people who I'm not ashamed who are like, yo, I have like Centurion, right? And they're like, bro, my Centurion isn't critting all the time, and they're like, I've put my crit as high. And you know, like that's one of the things where I believe some people thought that with TOOTHFAIRY they're going to crit all the time. I will say, maybe you guys disagree or agree. I think as of all of the content creators we have in R99, I think TOOTHFAIRY was slightly overhyped, and some people didn't really exactly understand her whole kit and thought that they were just going to crit a majority of the time, where it's like if you don't have your resonance right, you don't have the right side cubes at times, then, because like, I mean, if you don't crit, then half of TOOTHFAIRY's kit didn't really work for you. You pretty much have to crit for her value to be there. Like, she's a good healer, she purifies, but if you don't crit, then you could say Med Pocket would have worked out for you in a way, right? That's how I feel. I feel Tooth Fairy was slightly overhyped. That content creators as a whole, not anyone specific, we kind of hyped her up to people, and some people were like, "Well, like she's great, but like she isn't like the end all be all."
Yeah, so I think it also depends a lot on. I mean, let's be honest. Gacha games always will shape the current content a little bit based around what kind of character is new, what you want to pull. So when you have like a new character which is specifically good against enemies which have high crit resistance, because let's be honest, like my Lilia has 100% crit rate, she literally cannot crit. However, if the enemy suddenly has 40% crit resistance, Voyager as well as also Tooth Fairy get insanely more valuable, because that will be a problem at that point. However, if you are up against enemies which have no crit resistance, I don't necessarily see a point of playing either of those. Except for, well, Tooth Fairy can heal and cleanse.
I think I don't really agree. A lot of it, okay, so I do agree with the fact that a lot of content creators, they do say that Tooth Fairy is really, really good, but I think it is quite justified, especially if you look at the current and future content, right? Tooth Fairy is definitely very, very high up there for various reasons. I think Confusion is a bit overhyped. Confusion is not that useful, honestly. It only lasts for one turn. You can treat it a bit like Medicine Pocket's first skill, and like the damage taken, it's relatively, like, generally it's going to be better than the Confusion, but that is not the main selling point for Tooth Fairy. A lot of it comes from being AP generous, because her passive is the one that triggers the 15% crit damage debuff as well as the crit rate increase, and that is in fact higher DPS increase than like the cut itself, like using the Confusion cut. So that is a passive thing that always triggers like every single turn if you are in a 4-man battle, right? Because it takes 5 baby tooth for you to actually trigger it. So every turn you are already gaining like 4 baby tooth, and some turns you're going to gain 3 for moving cards in 4-man battles, and 4-man battles are going to be more and more common. So Tooth Fairy, in its way, it's very AP generous and can provide offensive benefits, unlike other healers that requires you to move to provide offensive benefits. So I think that is a big thing. Another thing also is that we have to consider that having the cleanse on the kit itself is also very strong, given the fact that in the future, right, a lot of like not just the reads, but even Limbo, we have a lot of those overtime damage dealers stacking like tons of poisons on you, all those nonsense that you would, they would definitely be hurting you.
The Limbo has debuffs coming heavy too.
Correct. So I think it's not just this season that they are like focusing on selling you Tooth Fairy. In fact, I would say that every season from now on is selling you Tooth Fairy. So I think a lot of times people say if you don't have Tooth Fairy you cannot play the game. I don't think that is true. That is definitely false. But at the same time, we have to think about it, right? If we are playing this game whereby people are saying, hey, I can clear with everything, why do I need Tooth Fairy? Then the similar thing, like the same argument can be applied to any character. But out of all of those, I think Tooth Fairy is the most valuable. So she is the one that I feel like you do need to pull for, because out of everything, like if you tell me that you can play the game with everything, you can clear all the content with everything, then gacha, you can take it away, right? Does that mean that you don't need to save for anyone? If you really want to save for someone, then it has to be someone valuable, and Tooth Fairy in this context is what I consider the top notch. So I feel like, from a comparison standpoint to Voyager, it's not that it's not that valid.
Characters.
Correct. I think the purpose is not that.
I do agree with you in the sense that Tooth Fairy is very valuable. Like for me, I feel like the only characters that are like, I'm not gonna say must pull, because we don't really have a lot of must pulls, like but we do have very strong pulls, like 6 Tooth Fairy are characters that can benefit you in a really big way, mainly because both of them have purifies. There are so many stages, like you said, Kaki. There are so many stages in the future that I play in CN that you just get hit with 8 debuffs. There's one with Cristallo where she hits you with her ult and then you're poisoned. and you take so much tick damage to where if you don't have somebody to purify your team, you're just taking so much damage. And I recently just got TOOTHFAIRY on my CN account. I haven't been able to use her, but there's a lot of stages where I'm like, man, if I TOOTHFAIRY up, the purify is the biggest thing that I see from her right now. Because like crit wise, like I'm kind of fine. But the purify, the team wide purify is really valuable. So that's like one of my bonuses to TOOTHFAIRY. If anything, the passive is great, like in the background. I really don't even think about it. But the purify is huge. Purify is huge.
I think that's a very fair point. For me, it's mostly a lot of the time TOOTHFAIRY. Again, I don't want to say always because that's not true as well, but oftentimes TOOTHFAIRY is sold as this one character which you need to just do more damage, which is important for your crit teams. And I think this statement is, except if the meta is literally tuned towards that, where all content has high crit resistance and confusion suddenly gets really important. I think that is the wrong way of approaching TOOTHFAIRY, because sure, it's exactly how you said right now. If she will boost the damage if the meta aligns. However, the most important part is the healing and the purify. And at that point, you just have to think, okay, which other character in the game currently is able to provide the same healing and purify as she can? And that is when the argument, yeah, exactly. And that is when the argument, do you need to pull her, is justified, but it's not for the reason to boost your damage, it's for the reason to, well,
the boosting damage part, I think you are a bit mistaken though, Riff, because you are thinking from a perspective of Lilia. Not everyone like has 100% crit. In fact, everyone has very far from 100% crit. So just giving crit, right? If you were to think about it from a expected value standpoint, 15% crit is 15% of the damage increase you get from a critical damage, right? You have to think from that angle. You couldn't think from the like ensuring crit versus not ensuring crit. It improves the chance of you doing more damage, and also in the same time increases crit damage. So because of the crit damage debuff from her passive, so you can't think of it like
the crit damage debuff is totally fair. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because honestly, I don't know, or I don't remember one of these two things. Can crit resistance go negative and actually give you additional?
It can go negative.
Okay. Yeah, then that's a fair point. But
it straight up gives 15% crit rate to every single unit. So you don't really need to care about like crit meta. For units that do not have like crit technique, like high crit technique, I would say that you don't even need to like go resonance into crit. Just the flat 15% crit rate, as well as like the base crit damage increase, like the crit damage just does more damage, right? So just that alone, like for someone like even Melania, the crit technique isn't the highest, you still get like 9% DPS increase. 7 to 9% DPS increase over the, like, just passively. So
I think that's fine. But at that point, you can also argue, okay, what if I just use literally any other character in the game which boosts my damage to a certain degree? Because on the end, crit resistance threat or anything which increases your crit rate, which doesn't let you hit like 100%, is still luck based. If you don't crit, the crit damage boost will also not help you. So at that point, getting 25% crit rate, in my opinion, doesn't matter if you baseline have like 20% or whatever. At that point, you still have a 55% of not critting, where literally not only the debuff itself for getting more crit, but also the crit damage boost is literally non-existent. And at that point, I just have to argue, okay, now I take literally any other character, which just gives me 25% more damage bonus, for example, or damage boost.
But you have to move a card for that character, though.
I mean, yeah,
and
sure.
In casting the debuff, you lose the chance to use lose the chance to use an attack. So like if you were to compare like using a debuff card and 2 attack cards versus using 3 attack cards, you do more damage using 3 attack cards, assuming they are not like ultimates. That is just a like that's how it goes, right? Unless it like lasts for 2 turns.
But if you're moving a lot of cards, though, you're not getting a lot of baby teeth. With
no. As long as, well, that is true, but you wouldn't really move a lot of cards. Like in format battles,
it depends on the, because like the only reason I'm saying is because like my spat, like this is because I just got TOOTHFAIRY
Yeah.
1.5. So with Spathadia, I don't really get a lot of baby teeth because Spathadia, she likes to move cards. She likes to have level 2 higher cards the way her kit works. So I get less baby teeth. So like in some ways, since Spathadia is already a character that once set up, TOOTHFAIRY on P0 is a character that I have to see the math if I want to alternate turns. It's big brain. So it's not like, you know, and this is a character in the future. So like if you're having to move cards and do all that and you're at P0, you know, it's a little big brain for some people, but I
it's a bit weaker for sure. But
so if I just want to, sorry, I just want to interrupt for a second because I think that's an interesting question. So Miguel Silva wrote, what about character like Regulus that benefit from overcapping crit? And I think that's an interesting question. The problem is, and again, I don't know, but I don't think that is how it works. TOOTHFAIRY does not provide you direct crit rate. It reduces the enemy's chance of resisting a crit rate. Well,
it does overflow. It does help the overflow from the counts I've seen at least.
Then it would be interesting because that thing. In that case, if you actually get basically additional crit damage from overcapping, that would be interesting.
But the problem is Lilia don't have this thing, so that's why she's like weaker once TOOTHFAIRY comes out, right? Because everyone else that can, like everyone else kind of benefits, right? If you are not capped, you're benefiting. If you are capped but you can overflow, you're benefiting. So like Charmaine, all this, they're pretty good with her, but Lilia is a problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's why I know I mentioned Spath, but it's because I have her. Spathadia doesn't overcap, but she also can control how much crit rate she has. That's why I don't think, you know, she's one of the first crit characters I don't think necessarily needs TOOTHFAIRY.
Doesn't she get like very little crit rate though until like P3? I think P3 then
P2.
gives her
P2. Well,
P2 or P3.
You gotta think about it. You gotta think about it this way, because I tested it. So P2 she gets 50% while attacking a burn enemy. At P0 it's 25%. Her natural crit rate she has with resonance is 38%. Her buff each level gives her crit rate, just straight up crit rate. So level 1 on the buff gives 30%, level 2 gives 45%, level 3 gets 75%. So if you have, literally with what I just said, if you have P0, you're at 25 with the 38, that's putting you at 63. And then if you do a level 2 buff, you're over 100% crit rate. And she doesn't overflow it. Of course, with crit resist and everything like that, you know, she can help. But like, if you were to do a level 3, now you're even higher. You're at like 140% crit rate. But her crit damage is so ridiculous that what's crazy is you can infinitely stack the buff, which is why she's a character that doesn't need overflow, because you could stack 50 stacks of the crit rate and now do 50 times 15, and that's how much crit rate you have. So that's why she can't overcap it.
Yeah, I think especially with portraits, she's quite strong. Yeah, I think also that's a fair point.
I think that's generally something which is really interesting. The more characters will be released, the more synergies will be there at a certain point.
And I discussed this in my TOOTHFAIRY video. The reason why I think she is like definitely in my opinion, if you have enough draws, just go for her, is because the trend is that they are releasing all this like broken freaking crit shit, right? Like Charmaine,
broken as hell.
Like it's really broken, and then
so broken.
And at the I mean Spathadia at P0 I think is still fine, but let's be real here, it's more like even if you do not have any synergy, she's already good. But if you have synergy, then she is very, very good. So like a baseline, she's already as good as any other character. And healers in this game are pretty scarce. Like you can just see in until 1.5 who is the next healer that they release. What, Ezreal? Is it Ezreal?
Ezreal's a shielder actually, so
she's a shielder? So you don't even have a healer like in 1.5.
People were thinking Ezreal's gonna power creep TOOTHFAIRY, which I was like, come on. But they showed the Utu video, and Ezra applies a shield. So people are still thinking it's going to be a crit character because he's Star. But yeah, he's a shielder. As what we know, he's a shielder, plus a buff, has the Ezra stacks, but not a healer. And I talked about on my stream yesterday, like shielders are kind of lacking in utility compared to healers. The healers are stacked right now. Shielders don't compare, like in terms of what they provide to a team. Like
honestly, shielders are very like. If you think about it, right? I feel that shields in general, they like if you want to create a shield, they must be mandatory. Like there must be a use for the shield itself. Like if you don't have a use for that, then like why are you even wasting that card?
I think that is a really interesting point because, in my opinion, in most scenarios, a shield is better than a heal. However, that depends on the characters existing. So if we just take a look, for example, at Honkai Star Rail, where we have like Arlen. Arlen is a character which does more damage the lower your health is. It is really difficult to keep this low health if you have a healer on your team, because either he's dead or he's not low health. You can do it with the shield though. You can just prevent the damage in the first place, which is easier to play with HP manipulation. However, we don't really have a character currently, which basically is like if you are at 1% HP, you do 99% more damage. And on top of that,
1.6 is coming.
Yeah, I'm talking about the current stage.
But I mean, I'm just joking.
We don't have
an
Arlen Hu Tao.
Correct.
Exactly.
We have Charlie, but Charlie's like health can be between like just.
Yeah, also
like,
that pot phrase, and then it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. So
yeah, this is true.
Yep.
But I think at that point it's also important how strong are these shields actually, because if I can heal, if I have a healer which is able to just heal any character from 0 to 100, that is always gonna be better than a shield which will literally break every time it's attacked. And most shields are also time-based, whereas my character's health is not really turn-based. If I heal it, the heal is not gonna be reducted after, I don't know, 2 turns.
I don't think shooters have a place right now.
Let's not. Be honest. But I hope they will build on that, because I think there are many characters, just as Tenon, for example, who could get really interesting if they do something with shields, basically.
Well, with them releasing a shield character, because I don't think you're gonna center content around the standard characters. With them releasing a shield character, we could see a new mechanic.
I mean, they can literally just add a permanent debuff to the stage where all healing is reduced by 90%. Have fun.
Well, the main boss, the lion-looking one, does a healing debuff. Makes the healing piss poor. There's like 3 stacks of it. So I'm assuming like he's a character that, he's a raid boss that'll have it. Like as soon as they start having bosses apply more healing debuffs, what that's going to do is like now you're having to feed more Moxie to your TOOTHFAIRY to try to purify yourself, or is it better to try to stack a shield and possibly use less Moxie? Like I think it's still an option where you can use TOOTHFAIRY and try to get that purify off, depending on how many times you're getting healing debuff and how hard the boss hits. It just depends on how hard are you getting hit to where it matters how many times you need to heal, to where do you really even need to purify it? Because the main boss hits stupidly hard in the raid. He's the only content in the game where I'm like, sturdiness is like probably something you would want. Like, a tankier team. Because he hit my Spathadia for 9.5k. I've never been hit that hard. I can't do anything against that. And that was with sturdiness and 6's buffs. So if he can hit me for 9.5 with all that damage mitigated, then that's where we start seeing in the future, of course, where it's like, maybe we look at shielders and stuff like that.
I think on that topic, right? What do you guys think about them catering the content for the new characters, and then like after a couple patches, maybe it'll not be useful anymore? Like because
let's be honest, literally every single gacha game does that. Literally every single gacha game
what you are talking about, right, is different, right? Because like if you have like a character that benefits from the shield versus a content that is catered for the shield is different things. Like after the content actually moves on, then the need for the shield would have dropped. But if you have a character that works well with the shielder, right, you can still stay relevant, right? That combo can still exist within other content. But if you only have like very specific shielding necessary, like mandatory content, after the content actually expires, then you kind of be left with a character that doesn't do much.
I see where you're saying like the character is only going to be here for the season of like when they do it, or a possible quote unquote raid boss. But I also feel like the character, if we cater it to the content too much, like people are just gonna be like, oh, so we need a shielder, so then we'll just use New Babel or Tenant instead of summoning for the new character. The new
So
character would have to do something so ridiculous to make you, because there's a lot of characters in the game that are similar, and like not fully, but like they kind of do like similar things. So if it's like if you just need a healer, then like just get a healer. If you just need a shielder, just get a shielder. If you just need someone who crits, then we have like 8 characters who literally are built to crit. Um, like, because what's interesting is like Limbo. Limbo is not always catered to the type of the character that's like it's usually catered to the first character that's released, but not the second. Like Limbo just reset in Global and CN, and it's not catered to the second character on the banner uh, for their typing, which is kind of interesting.
so I think it's again, I see also what you're saying, but I mean, in the end, it's a live service game. The live service game will always evolve, and there will always be new mechanics introduced over time, or rehashing old mechanics. It's just gonna happen. And just looking at literally every other game, like let's take Genshin for example. Keqing was literally shit for the entirety of the game, and suddenly Dendro comes around. And suddenly she's not that bad anymore. And the same thing can happen here. Like even if they cater one specific content to shielders only, and the next 2 patches are just trash, basically, they just need to introduce literally anything else, a new character, whatever, which just makes it good again.
Yep.
So, except if they literally fuck up really, really badly, I think no character will be wasted over the lifetime of the game.
I think it just goes into full priority though. Like, I mean, Kaki says like, Tooth Fairy is very valuable. I think the next character that's like valuable is like, either Shemaine or Six, whoever you value more. But other than that, like I feel like no character is like a must pull other than the supports right now. Support and healers are really the only characters that are valued high because we have so many DPS in those categories. Even though they have like bosses that have more, one has more reality, one has more mental. If you have your team built, you can kind of get through that. Um, you know, and it just it's kind of interesting unless they have a literal mechanic that's like, oh, the boss is immune to mental damage, so now you can't use Melania, so now you're forced to use Centurion.
Yeah, there are bosses that are weak, like they're resistant. I wouldn't say immune, right? But they kind of do that.
1.1 boss.
So yeah,
1.1 boss they reran in 1.5 has double S in mental and A plus in reality, so it's better to use a reality like character.
Right. And the raids they are running it like they remove one of those and they replace it with the robot guy. But I'm thinking like the Leviathan, the Sea Serpent one, right? They probably will keep it for 3 raids because now it's the second time it's being rerun. The next one, they wouldn't remove the robot one because they just added it, right? So likely they will remove either the correct. Yeah, they probably cut off that because like 37 is more recent. So I'm thinking that's their logic. So if we think along those lines, every character would at least, if you cater for the content, then at least it will be useful for 3 patches. I'm just thinking, like, predicting what is going to happen because it's not really, like, the raid hasn't run for that long. And maybe they'll just remove it all of a sudden, like, just add in something new, right? Isn't there a new game mode?
Well, the game modes we have right now is, like, so, so you have the raids, 3 raids, the hard, I think it's really only the raids and then the 5-star Psycube thing where you go through the 7 rounds to get the 5-star gluttony.
But that's not very important, right? That one is like that. I feel like something we should also talk about is like the lack of content in general. Like I feel like a lot of people think that everything is too easy. It's not just day one players. I think a lot of people that join slightly later also think that the content is kind of easy right now. Like,
so I'll ask you this: do you so I feel seeing is because you can't prepare. I feel like seeing is a little harder than global because of lack of preparation. But in global, do you think that with the content and the level, since there are still casual players, do you think it's better that they cater more to those hardcore players, or still keep it, or is it better to keep it casual? Um, or do you think they just really need to fix that balance? Because that's what it is like, do you cater to the casual players where there's a bigger player base of them, or do you cater to the min maxers?
I
Because
mean, let's
some
be
games,
honest. You
yeah,
can never
go ahead.
cater to all of them at once. If the game
Mhm.
is too easy, the min maxers will complain. If the game is too hard, the casual audience will complain. And even though, I mean, let's not forget we are all in our little bubble. And everybody who is probably watching the stream, everybody who is actually consuming actively YouTube content about any kind of gacha game, whatever, is more likely in the I play this game very often and I prefer the harder game content. However, 95% of all players are still really casual. And that is something when we complain about something and say it's too easy, and we would like really difficult content, that is something we always forget about, because let's be honest, the minority is always really, really quiet, and it's really, really hard to actually notice they are there. So
Yeah, because I helped somebody beat Limbo, and the team consisted of DK, Bjorn Bloom, Annan Lee, and a R9 Leilani. I mean, that's
Mm.
obviously not a meta player. So if the content gets too hard, then his R9
Yeah.
Leilani isn't gonna have a place in the game. But then again, to where I could see someone's point, is it the game's fault where if somebody doesn't do like 2 minutes of research, they could have found a better team. But not everyone also is gonna do research for a game that they just want to log on and play for 2 hours. So
yeah, it's
I
not.
do feel you, Kaki. The game is very, it is easy. I'm not gonna say very easy. It is easy. The people are beating the content day one, but there are also still, from like
I'll
what
say
I hear, a lot
one
of,
hour, not day one.
oh yeah. Well,
One hour.
I was being nice, but yeah, like the first like hour or so,
15
people
minutes to 30 minutes.
yeah.
You see people posting like in the
But you
main
have to look at
Discord.
the
Yeah.
positives, right? I don't have a lot of I3s, and I can beat content I2 level 50 without putting in a gross amount of like resources into my characters. I can still beat content. I think for the long run, for casual players, that feels better versus like,
Yeah.
being like, oh, you have to I3 max out rest. Like, that's a little much for people where it's like, I tell people in global, I2 level 50 with Resonate and a decent team, you can beat everything. You don't need an I3. I3 is nice. You don't need an i3 for most of the content in the game in global. Um, because we have the crystal ball. If you're watching a live stream, if you're looking at Kaki's, Iron Rivenous, my videos, Steam Bun's videos, Jockeys' videos, you now can see the crystal ball of what's coming up. You get great advice. To where it's like, I think we have so much information that, like you said, the game is just easier. Like, I mean, we're so prepped. We have everyone prepped on their teams that with the literal best characters. And like honestly, the supports are so good in this game that it makes the content easy. The supports are crazy in this game.
Mm.
You can
Yeah,
use like any DPS. You can use any DPS to beat content because the supports are so crazy.
I think so. When we just take again a look at basically every other game which is supposedly too easy, and you just read Reddit or basically any other online forum, there will always be like this argument. Well, the main like let's just make really difficult content which doesn't give any rewards. So the players who want difficult content are really happy. And
Is Honkai
Yes.
MOC as easy though?
for me it is,
Uh,
but for other people it's not. So
prepped. If you're prepped, it's easier. I think it's a matter of being prepped because
yeah,
I
exactly.
can't go in. I can't go into MOC and beat it because my account's not prepped. Even though I've spent money and done stuff like that, and that's cocky where you feel. I kind of see your point there. Like, it's like if you're prepped and you know what's happening, then you can beat it. And if you have a balanced like team,
Yeah.
I don't. I put into like like one or two characters. Like I spent money and got an E2 Jing Yuan, but he's like the only person on my account who's really like built up to where like everything else is kind of, because I hyper focused him because he was cool when I first played the game. But everyone else isn't really built, and I don't have a balanced team, and like I can't just brute force it. I think it's kind of the same like Limbo, where like I'm not talking like us, like high level of play, like us, where it's like if you have the element prepped and you have like a decent balance of your team, you can beat the content once you understand the mechanic and stuff. It might take you a couple retries, but if you're a casual, you can beat the content. But like if you're using like a neutral Afflatus and you don't have good focus on your like you don't have your characters leveled properly and a good resonate and all that stuff, and you're probably gonna struggle. Because like there's people who on Forget Me Not couldn't beat him, and I was like, all you have to do is just Moxie control him, and he's an easy fight. But like not everybody.
I think Forget Me Not is quite difficult for casuals. Let's be real.
A lot of people struggle on Forget Me Not.
So that part we do agree.
Yeah, Forget Me Not was difficult for casuals, but if you know how to control his Moxie, he can't do anything to you. But you have to know that, you know.
Yeah, but I think
you do have to know something. Yeah,
that is kind of the problem in basically every game. So the thing is, as soon as you do really difficult content, nobody's gonna play it because, if you do really difficult content with no rewards, nobody's gonna play it. The casuals will not play it because they can't beat it, and the hardcore gamers will not build it because they don't get resources in game for literally anything. And there have been more than enough tests in other games about this that it. Like from a developer's perspective, there is no reason to ever to basically spend money to implement something which nobody is gonna play. So you have to implement literally anything which is easy enough for everybody to beat so they can get the rewards. Because if you don't get rewards because it's too difficult, then the casual player base will actually complain about it. And they will quit the game because they just say it doesn't matter, I can't keep up.
Okay, so how about we ditch the easy, difficult content topic? How about we talk about, is there enough content? Like easy or difficult? Like, because if you look at the amount of content we have currently, right? Do you think that is enough for a 42-day patch? But this is the first time we're going to have a 42-day patch, by the way. Even in 1.1, people already say that there is not enough content. That is 28 days. Now we are having 42-day patch. So we are in the early parts of it.
So I think there are 2 or 3 perspectives you can view it from. If you are just this kind of gamer who wants to spend 3, 4, 5 hours in this one game all the time, there's certainly not enough content. If you are a casual player who just wants to log in 10 minutes a day, just do their dailies on, now autoplay, thank you very much for that, Lupo. Then there is more than enough content because they don't care about more content anyway. They just want something to do for 10 minutes a day. Then there are the people who are really interested in story, who actually want the story. And I think to those, it's catered really well because you kind of have this, the main story, which will be continued at some point at least. And then you have like the little, let's call it side stories, where we had the Millennia event. Now we have the TOOTHFAIRY event. And if you don't just do everything in run, and you just actually read what is there, you have story for that. So I think that is fine as well. If you are a content creator like me who doesn't do, like, for example, for me, I want to do very specific content. So, for example, my next video, which now I can finally do after I went basically free to play in the game, it just takes an eternity to get literally everything. Anything, sorry. So for me, the next video will be about Yearning Desire. So I have to do this video, but there is not enough for me to do anymore in the game, except for like very few specific things, which just take like 1 or 2 months to actually get to. Yeah, sure. I could do like news videos. I could do videos which just basically guide videos, whatever. I could do that, but that's not the kind of content I want to do. That is not what I see myself for this game, at least. So for me, it's really difficult to have enough content to cover for my YouTube channel. And I think so I was wrong. It's not 2 or 3 perspectives, it's 4 perspectives. So one time, the YouTube content creator, where I think there might not be enough, except if you want to cover what literally everybody else is covering, and that's fine. Then you have the casuals, which it's fine for. Then you have the hardcore gamers who want to spend 10 hours every day in the game. There's not enough content for them. And then you have the story people who either want to consume everything at once or are a casual gamer. So those
what if they put rates out in 1.3? I mean,
so, the answer to your question. Oh, sorry. So I'll answer your question. I think I think both of both of you brought up really great points. I think that for it, like when you like look at the game, yes, for a hardcore gamer, for a streamer like me who can stream 8 hours, I can't spend 8 hours on my uh global account. Like I can't. Like there's it's just literally me just like making up what to do or buying stamina or like just kind of
Yeah.
just jerking around. But like if I were to be the type who, even if I consume story, there's no update to the main story chapter after, we've played for a while. And the only other story we get is out of the events, but most people consume that content already. There is not enough content for someone who's spending hours every day.
Yeah.
No, I will agree to that.
Yeah.
If you have your account maximized, you don't have to retry on any stages and think about it and refarm for your characters. Because honestly, with the limbo, sometimes they repeat it with the same element where I'm like, so now you're not even forcing people to do something else and have to build a new team. Like people are using the same characters and beating limbo. So like you're not even distracting us with like new mechanics and stuff like that. So there's not enough in the game. Now, when you look at like what CN has, you'll have the raids come out a few days after the new patch. You have one boss to fight, and every 9 days they allow you to kind of prepare for that boss. Then you have the same event, and then Utu later. I think for what you're saying about Seikaki, I think raids should come sooner because like 1.3 is gonna be another kind of boring patch for people. It'll be the same thing with 1.2. I think and if we're telling people, oh, just wait 9 weeks because the 3 weeks of Jessica's banner, then 6 weeks of 1.3. Wait 9 weeks and we get raid. That's a long time for content people know about, and that's probably why, and that's why they separate CN and global Blue Pac, right? Because like it's like they don't want people to see what's in CN, but it's like, dog, like one YouTube video and they're gonna see that raids exist. So having to wait 9 weeks for a raid is a little ridiculous because like I've been telling people like let's be honest, also the raid rewards are kind of trash. So like people are gonna wait for all those rewards, and the rewards you can get A rank and below. That's the best rewards you need.
Correct.
S and above rate like rewards are trash. So like and then you have to, once the raid does come out, you have one boss to fight, and you still have to wait. You still have to wait for the other two bosses, and you still have to wait for Utu. But if they released everything on the first day, then the patch would be even more boring because people would just beat it in 2 days. All of the content in the patch.
Yeah, so, I think that's very true. I think the problem is in the end you have to always think about what can the player do at the current moment if no event is happening. And I think that is exactly. But the thing is, I think that is something which is a very big difference.
I'll tell you. Oh, sorry.
I think that's a very big difference between games like Genshin, where if you have 100%ed everything, I think it doesn't matter. But you have this open world which you can explore technically. You can walk around, just have a nice view, talk with characters, whatever, adore your characters. For Star Rail, you kind of have the same problem as you have for Reverse 99. If there isn't an event going on, you literally cannot do absolutely nothing. You can't even have a look at your characters. At least not. I guess you can, but it's different between a 2D and 3D perspective, at least for me personally. And sure, I guess you can just beat Limbo again over and over and over again, but at some point you just and I think it's important that you get something in the game which you can repeat, which is not necessarily boring. And I personally
just for flex, right? I think just for flex also would be good. Like a bit like what Lucky mentioned, right? Because raids, the rewards are not the focus there. It's
agreed.
It's for people to play. Like if I could do like the 1,000,000 damage, it is better than someone that can do 800 damage regardless of the rewards.
Screenshot in Discord. Yeah, it's something to screenshot in Discord and be like, yo, I did like 1.1 million on this boss. Like, look at how much damage I did.
But how often will you do this one boss? A day, every single day. How often will you beat this one boss?
Well, it depends. You can do it infinitely, but it depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, but at the end, only min-maxers will try to do this. Like the casual
But
player
at least there's something for min-maxers to do, right? Like the argument is that right now for min-maxers, it's the same, like also the same as when some games are very free to play friendly, and then you have absolutely nothing to spend on. Even if you like swipe your credit card 100 times, you couldn't buy anything else. Like,
yeah, sure.
So,
but I think in the end, the only answer for basically every kind of game who has this kind of style, which would be Star Rail as well as Reverse 99, as well as I don't fucking know other games. Just add fucking roguelike in it. Just make,
that's true. That's true.
Make literally any content which is procedurally generated, just some kind of maze where you have to decide, do I want to go left or right? If I go left, I get this buff. If I go right, I get this buff. Maybe you get some coins, simulated universe, basically. Yeah, sure, it will not keep players playing this one game forever. However,
but not the boring
something.
Maze, right? The like it's a chore kind of a maze, not that kind. We don't want that as well because a lot of games have that.
Yeah, you literally just want anything which has some kind of RNG in it, basically.
So then are you saying like Reverse just really only needs a roguelike mode and they'll be fine with all the content?
I think that would be really good. And if you could even add co-op to it. You know, we have the friend system, just literally make it make co-op where you can invite with a friend, you go into this one dungeon or however you want to call it, and two of your characters, two of your friends' characters. And then I don't know honestly how the card system would play out. Maybe you would take turns where you can, you know, one turn you do the cards, the next turn your friend does the cards, whatever. I'm not sure how exactly co-op would work out, but basically you have like a room, you beat some enemies, and then you can choose, do you want to go to this room, or to this room? And depending on the room you choose, different things happen, you know? Literally just take simulated universe. You will not play it forever, but you can replay it.
And now, I will ask a specific question because someone brought up something great in the chat, and it goes along with what we said. R99 feels like a really great side game if you don't have a lot of spare time. You can get everything done that you need fairly quickly without spending a lot of time in it, right? Think about the games that you actually kind of do have to spend some time in that are in its same space. I'm not going to compare it to Genshin because Genshin has an open world. If any of you have looked at Epic 7, Epic 7 has so much content that a casual player literally probably would be overwhelmed. Or some of those games that have been around that just keep adding new and new content. Like, I'm going to use Epic 7 because I played it. Epic 7 has PvP, has arena PvP, real-time PvP, guild wars, guilds, guild bosses, guild labyrinth, side content labyrinth, gear farming with like 4 different bosses that you have to understand, a big story. Like, I could keep going. There's so much content to where if games have content like bloat, like it kind of overwhelms people. Do you think if R99 establishes itself as a side game, it's doing perfect where like the only people who are upset with it are people who play it too long, which is a smaller percent of the player base?
I think the difficult part here is balancing it. I don't think you should cater only to the side game, but I also don't think you should cater to the full time. You know, for example, Genshin literally can take, if you just start new right now in this moment, you literally can spend 500 hours in it. Or even more, you know, there is so much content to do. You literally can make this game your full-time game for an entire year. However, there's nothing else to do, and it's just a nice side game when you've completed everything. For Star Rail, I think they tried this approach of where they went to, hey, we want to make this a side game, but then they introduced Simulated Universe where you still get like your planar ornaments, which are still too important to pass up on. And this is the one problem where I think they fucked up this little balance. Technically seen, it is a nice side game, which you can just play 10 minutes a game, 10 minutes a day. However, they have the Simulated Universe, which is kind of mandatory. And I think this is something which Reverse 99 needs to nail. Right now, they have the side game part really well balanced, where you can just treat it as a side game, but they need something to do for the people who want to play more. Just something. The problem is it should not be mandatory. And I think that is a really, really difficult part to balance, because as soon as you have rewards, basically it is mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have rewards, there's no reason to do it, basically.
I think the rate system is pretty good though. Like, the difference in rewards is not not something that would make like the casuals feel like they're missing out on a lot. It's not clear drops. It's nothing significant, to be honest. And for the people that want to do it, yeah, correct. So I think they need more of those kind of reward systems for the new content that they create, whereby there is a extra mile that you could go. Like, of course, in some games, right, that is the whole premise. Like, if you think about games like Eversoul, AFK, Arena, it's always constantly pushing you to the next level, right? Pushing you, you keep going until you couldn't go. And
literally the highest level has cracked rewards.
Correct.
I can't do it, bro. Like, Eversoul, I played to make content. You're like, bro, I can't do it. And that's what would happen for a casual in the raids. Like, 850,000 damage is a lot of damage if you're not prepared. And the bosses keep hitting harder and harder, get new mechanics. So yeah, like, if they put clear drops up there, like, people would be like, I can't do this. And so I think they balance the raids for the quality of the rewards. Like, A rank and below, you're fine. That's 280,000 damage. You do that, anything else is extra, to screenshot in your Discord and just be like, yo, look what I did.
I think we can all agree that pretty much we if they were to release the rates earlier, it would be great, because like you guys said, right, how long is it until then? It's 42 days. So it's 42 days for one patch. Right now we are not even halfway, right?
Yeah,
we're not even halfway. Weeks. Yeah, 9 weeks. Okay, we're not even halfway to 1.3. And then, even when 1.4 comes, is it available on day one? I don't think so. So, it's a long time. Like, pretty much people can, like, just drop the game right now and come back at 1.4. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of the problem. Like, you need something to do in the meantime where there's nothing to do. And...
sorry, I want to add this.
Yeah, sure.
Since we have a crystal ball, though, you also can spend that time farming for future characters that you want, because the game is 3 months ahead in CN, versus other games you literally, like, you don't even know what the character needs. Yeah, I think that's kind of helpful too, that you could just, like, in the meantime where you're not doing anything, like, oh, well, I can just farm for Black Dwarf that I want, or Shemaine, or 37, or 6, or Validea, because you literally can see, like, 3 months ahead. I think that game kind of has that little illusion of, like, well, at least there is something I can focus on versus doing dust and whatever every day.
Yeah, I think yes and no. I think it's really, really difficult, because let's be honest, if you're a casual gamer who just logs in for 10 minutes a day to play this game, you don't give a fuck. You don't look up what CN has in 3 patches. Yeah. So these kind of people, they also don't care, you know, they just want these 10 minutes. They don't want more. And I think Richard and Tian just brought that up in Cocky's chat over there. I think that is a good point, because for a casual gamer, it is really hard to drop Reverse 99. Like, you will not drop this game because it is very casual friendly.
It is.
However,
every 6-star is great.
If you are somebody who wants to spend a lot of time in this game, and let's be honest, most content creators do want to spend a lot of time in this game, that gets way easier to drop. Because at some point, everything is covered.
That is true, though. I think dropping the game or not, there are 2 aspects. Of course, I think catering to, like, casual players is definitely a lot more beneficial, since there is going to be a lot more casual players just out there. You can pick any of the games, unless it's straight up like a PvP centric game, right? A lot of this, like, casual gacha games, they are going to be made up of mostly casual people, like casuals that do not even, like, open a single video. Like
Yeah.
they never even joined the Discord. Maybe they joined the Discord to get some rewards, but other than that, they have never touched
It
any
could just be
content.
social though.
Sorry.
right? Like,
Sorry if I interrupt the conversation very shortly, because I have seen now a lot of people asking this. And if you're coming to the stream before we started, as Steambun X is late, we have honestly no idea where he is or if anything happened to him. So he is
we haven't heard
invited,
an update.
but he has not shown up so far. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's why I have
just,
a random image in his place. We're waiting.
just to let
We're
everybody
waiting.
know.
Yeah. But don't worry, I have his face on the podcast as well, so that is covered. Yeah, let's go back to our point.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think yes, the catering to casuals is better because people value their time. Because like for me, I think the game is fine. Because I play on stream technically 2 gotchas because I played CN and global. I can stream for like 6-7 hours as a content creator because I can play the game. I can stretch the game out for 2 or 3 hours. Talk and be social. So if I had like to spend every day like 10 hours per account, like I wouldn't get anywhere on a stream. Um, but I do see the point where it's also like sometimes I'm just kind of stretching the content out where it's like I could really be done on this account. I'll refresh like 2 or 3 times to get extra farming. Like honestly on CN though, I have like, you know, since my account is not prepared, like Limbo came out, I beat the first 4 stages and 5 and 6 kicks my ass. But like if I do Limbo on global, I'll probably like blow right through it. So there stuff like that happens.
Yep.
But like I think I think the game is fine for where it's at. I think raids will be interesting, and you know what? In a way, raids is also catered to casuals as well, is because it lasts the whole patch and it takes 9 days to prepare for that boss. I don't think they reveal the element, but it's 9 days before you get to the next boss, so your anxiety is not as high. You have a whole week and then some to prepare for that next boss, but the whole thing lasts like 30 days. And then you'll have Utu, right? So like I think it's fine.
I think it will
Again,
also
for
solve
feeling.
itself over time. Like the more content is being added, the longer the game exists. At some point you will just end up where basically Honkai Impact is at. You have like you could literally spend 10 million hours every single day in this one game playing side games basically. And I think that is fine. The game is still young. It has released like 3 months ago, not even. So give it time. I think
stuff sooner. Yeah.
I think right now it is in a good spot. However, they need to make sure that it doesn't fall off. However, I mean, we do have again the preview of what CN is getting. So,
yeah.
Have you guys tried the new Limbo?
Just give me 1 second. No, I have not.
Yeah.
I haven't done the new Limbo. I'm gonna wait till probably Monday.
Yeah, I might do it somewhere. I don't really care so much.
Because I got my daughter's first birthday today. She turns 1, so I got
cool
the podcast. Yeah, so I won't be streaming.
Nice.
Thank you for sacrificing your time here.
Yo, this is a true professional here.
Yeah, indeed.
It doesn't start like hours later, so it's good. But
yeah, so we have 30 minutes left, and one more topic, and then also 15 minutes of viewer questions.
Yep.
So I would like to go to our last point because I think we covered basically everything else. Portray power creep.
Ooh, I made a video on that one.
Yeah, I will give honestly, yeah, you start on that because I think it's also something which plays a little bit into the how free to play friendly is this game, and hence casual friendly.
So, I made 2 videos. In terms of portraits, they're not necessary for any character to be content, especially when we talk to global. There's no reason, like, there's no portrait on any 6-star that is necessary in order for you to do what you need to do for the character to beat content. I can start that blanket out there if you're free to play. You're fine. If you get the character, you're good. And there's alternative options if you don't get the character. But in terms of portrait power creep, there is a major shift. Every standard character that released when the game came out, portraits are trash compared to the other characters that are releasing. We can kind of agree on that. Every character from 1.1 on all increase their damage with some sort of stack. You have Melania who stacks with Phantom Thief, Pickles who stacks with Clarified, Tooth Fairy has her baby teeth. You have Jessica who gets extra damage with poison. You have Nature's Blessing with Shemaine, Planets with Black Dwarf. I can keep going. Eureka stacks, and so they have different ways to amplify their damage. And so their portraits help them get those stacks or refresh those stacks or help enable it from 1.1 on to increase their damage versus like the standard banner characters just give like, oh, here's some extra damage on your ult, here's a little extra damage on your skill. So when you look at like the characters from 1.1 to
but not every single one though, Lucky. I think like Changling Changeling is pretty bad. Like honestly,
well, I'm not saying she's good. She's the character who's the lowest of the
Of course.
It's not a
Melania in fact is one of the better ones, I think. If you just look at the DPS increase, is probably 30%. The old ones, our standard starters is probably only like 20% at P5. So yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying who's better.
It's not as good.
Just saying like they increase it. Jessica Changeling is the worst of all the portraits where she still has the old character portraits kind of. It only just helps the poison a little bit, but like it's not as crazy. But
it's not that good. Yeah.
The 1.1 and 1.2 characters, portrait 2 is kind of like where you can stop at and you can still have a really great character. Melania is an exception because she's an ult character and her ult gets crazy at P5. When you have 1.3 to 1.3 on, the portraits just get better and better. And we're not talking DPM, but like Shemaine gets Nature's Blessing stacks at P2, and then he just gets more crit rate on his ult. Black Dwarf just gets more planet stacks, more stacks, value for the stacks. Literally 37 gets more follow-up damage, easy ways to get Eureka. 6 ends up having the hardest, like craziest base damage ult in the game. Like the portraits get crazier as we have these characters who have more unique kits, is what they're trying to release. The portraits get crazy. But again, at P0, they're fine. But what were you gonna say?
I think there are basically if we talk about portray power creep, there are two things we have to take into consideration, and those are literally the two words. Number one, portray, number two, power creep. And in the end, I think there are various ways of how you can interpret these things. So the first thing is, does the portray or getting more portrays actually change the play style of the character? I think that's a really interesting approach you can always take. For example, you have a healer, but if you get like a P5, suddenly it's a DPS. I think that is a really interesting thing, which doesn't necessarily make this character necessary, but it provides a cool incentive for people who want to spend the money on it.
So I don't think it's as egregious as like Genshin, where it like completely changes the character. I don't think it's power creep like that.
Yeah, exactly. But let me continue. I just tried to list like the different ways of how you can approach it. And I think that is one interesting part, On the other hand, you have literally things like Yelan, for example. If you have a C6 Yelan, you literally can solo any content in the entire game because it's fucking broken. And I think that is the other approach which I think this game will take. Also in the future. And I think that is the interesting part, where basically as long as the game is balanced around P0, it is fine because it doesn't matter. If the game starts being balanced around P1, P2, or even higher, I think that is when it starts being a problem. Because for me, for example, I got my Jingliu up to, E6. And that was technically seen a mistake because I can literally zero cycle every single content in the entire game. And that makes the game also really boring. So if you really care about the character, you just feel like you want to have this, I think it is a good thing that it exists for these people who want to spend more money to get like the most powerful character in the entire game or whatever. However, the game shouldn't be balanced around that. Literally, the more money you spend, the easier it becomes, to the point where it just gets too easy that you will just stop playing at some point. And I think that is really difficult.
That's a pretty good point. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've told people, because like, a lot of people are saying like, oh, well, you have to have oh, you have to have P2 Melania for her to work. Not true. Like, oh, well, TOOTHFAIRY, you need P2. Not true. Saying that 37 and 6 need their portraits to work. No, that's not true. Like 37 to me is a sub DPS. Sure, if she gets more portraits, she becomes like, you can hyper carry her, but like she's a sub DPS in a way. But she still does Genesis damage. She does interesting things. Like I showed Rivenus like everything in her kit, and he was like, she's an interesting character with the fact that she has so much Genesis. There's crazier characters. I think, like you said, yes, the portraits make the game easier. Like my Spathadia with Portrait 3 has a ridiculous ceiling of how much crit damage she can do. It's wild. But because it's CN, it doesn't exactly mean that I can beat necessarily everything, because like, then I'd have to wail on like for Limbo. I can't beat Limbo because like I also don't have my second team wailed out as well. So I think because you need 2 teams in that one piece of content, it becomes easy. And then I can't triple S the main post boss because like, either I miss up the mechanic or like I'm missing a couple characters. So like I find more I like that the game has more value in, instead of trying to go all in on portraits on one character, it's, if you're going to use your money or use your summons, it's best to just have multiple characters so you can cover different mechanics and different enemies in the game. And I like that the game is like that, where it's better to have a bigger roster. Now, I'm not talking resources. That's a whole different conversation. But like, it's better to have like a bigger roster and have characters to use at your disposal than trying to maximize one character to its portrait.
I want to dip into Cocky's chat because that is something I highly disagree, but I would like to have your thoughts on that as well. So Esteban said, a smoother experience is the sentence I would use for most people. And I disagree with that hardly, because for me, a smoother experience means that the base character feels clunky. And if a character basically feels clunky and needs portraits feel good, I think that is a hardcore design flaw.
So are we talking 37? Because like, I think, or Black Dwarf? Because there's only a couple characters I could argue feel clunky at P0. Everyone else feels perfectly fine.
I don't think they feel clunky though. To be honest, I feel like
I don't even think clunky is the word.
Yeah. I think they're pretty well balanced. Let's be real here. Like P0 is fine. Yeah, I think P5 is P like even beyond P0. I don't even think it's needed. A lot of times when I'm pulling, like in my recent pull stream for TOOTHFAIRY, although I say that I'm going to get P5 and how many pulls, I deep down I hope that I'm not going to get anything beyond P0 because it's just going to dumb down my experience. Like I truly feel that paying is losing. Like if you want to pay, like what Lucky have said, is to get more characters so that you can experience different play styles, you can play around. But the game in itself, as of current state, and even looking into the future, the game is very, very easy. It is a very, very casual friendly game. So why do you want to pay when there is nothing to win in that sense? Even for raids, since you don't have to like there is a cap, right? There is triple S. Yeah, after that there is nothing beyond that. Sure, there is flexing right just for the damage, but even then it's not that much. Unlike other games whereby there are some of the unattainable goals unless you have like absolute maxed out characters, or you being able to limit break like beyond what a non-payer is able to do. Potentially arguable that you could do so, or if there's PvP, but in this game I think it's very hard to justify like I think it's very hard to justify swiping, especially if you want to enjoy the game more. I think that's my take.
Yeah, like if you're a character collector, get every character and have them at P0 if you like that. Portraits aren't necessary at all. I don't people try to argue me down. They're like, but it makes them this. You don't need it. With how global is right now, every single piece of content with a character, it's 6-star character P0 you can beat the content, and you don't even need to summon every one of the characters that come out. Like Jessica, she's the new plant character, but like she's not even necessary. Like, let's be honest, Bjorn Bloom with a couple copies literally beats her in single target damage, and you can do Bjorn Bloom and Lee and beat any plant content that you need. And they don't even do a lot of plant limbos like that. They have them in CN, but like none of the characters are like, there's no characters that are must pulls. You know, there's strong pulls. We already discussed that. So like if there's no characters that are must pulls and we have portraits that aren't necessary, then like you said, Cocky, there is no reason to spend. Of course, I spin, but like in global, I have, other than Sotheby, but in global I have most of my characters at P0 because I don't need anything beyond that. Like I can beat the content with the character. Like, and as a content creator, like if I were to have P5 every character, then like, bro, I am one-shotting every single thing I'm doing. And like, what am I gonna pretend to struggle? Like,
yeah, I think they're, to be honest, portraits exist for 2 reasons only. Number 1 is if you lose the 50-50, so you don't feel as bad. That is the number 1 reason it exists, and the number 2 reasons is for people who just want to spend a lot of money.
yeah,
That are like the only 2 reasons it exists, and I think that is a fair reason, as long as these portraits don't get misused to the point where you start balancing around higher portraits. And I think,
and they are not.
Yeah, exactly.
As of this moment, yeah.
As of right now, and also at least looking into the near future, it doesn't seem to be the case. And as long as that is the case, it is totally fine. So, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
So, people, we do enter the last 15 minutes of the stream. If you have any questions, anything you would be interested in, post your questions into the chat. We will
we can touch on some topics.
Some of them. Whatever you want, as long as it's R99 related. At some point, at least.
Anyone have any questions? Wait, let me look. Someone actually...
Yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead.
I think someone did mention just now about co-op. Like, we also talk about that, like adding co-op into the game. Personally, I do think that this might be in the realm of possibility. Like, PvP in this game is probably out of the question, but co-op is probably, it's probably possible.
To be honest, I hope that co-op will come, but I would hate if PvP comes into the game. I think PvP is an awful thing in any gacha game. Personally, just my opinion. I have a question in Cocky's chat, which I would forward
on the co-op though. I have a
please,
real quick. So on co-op, let's think about it this way. So I'll use my girlfriend example. She's been playing this game called Monster Super League. That's kind of like mid to me, but she loves it. She's been playing it for 4 years now. Literally the one thing that keeps calling her back to the game is the fact that she has a guild. And they need to do guild raid bosses, so they have a Discord and stuff like that. So it's a social interaction. I think games that lack a really great social interaction, a reason to log in, a reason to do things with friends or however many people you have in a guild, the game in the long term will not necessarily fail, but it'll be easier for people to just quit the game and have no reason to think about logging back in. Versus if you have a social interaction, you'll stick with the game a lot longer than you usually would. Like if you have a streamer that you like, and I'm like, and we all have our own guilds, and I'm like 40 people in my guild, and they're like, oh man, I gotta log in so I can do my guild stuff, do my guild quest. Let's get the guild boss in, and it's that camaraderie that helps people want to log in, and have a long-lasting game if they have that co-op. So I think because there's literally no reason for me to have my friends list full right now of 50 people and having to delete people because other people want to be my friend when there's no reason for, so I can look at their wilderness. I don't care about wilderness personally. So then there's no reason to have friends. Well, no reason to have friends in R99.
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, it's the same in Star Rail as well. There's no reason to have friends in there. And while I just want to pity pick on that, Blue Paw, I know you are watching the stream. Please fucking hell remove the character limit when writing a message in R99. Why is it set to like 50 characters? I can't even type one full sentence. Please.
Because why would you type anything?
Yeah, I never typed anything in R99. What are you talking about, Rick?
What are you typing?
I didn't even know there was a typing function in R99. I'm not typing to Chang Lake in this event story. Oh, what the hell?
Right. Okay, so there are some viewers of mine which have added me in game and they asked me some questions. I cannot answer these questions because I have to send like 4 or 5 messages because I can only type like, well, I think that, and then already maximum character limit reached. Like,
oh, that's I just told him message me in Discord. I just be like, yo.
Which is totally fine. I'm just saying there are people who use this message. There is no reason to literally have like such a low character limit.
So, okay, I get you now. Yeah.
I know you are watching, guys. Please consider changing that.
But so, if you are watching, please add more social things. There's no reason for since you support content creators, there's like we can't even do anything with our viewers other than just add them and be like, oh yo, I see that you have characters. Because I can see your 3 characters that you max, and I can see how many characters you obtained. Like I can see that you have characters.
Like, I see you played this game one time in the past.
I see when you started your account.
Oh, I see that this player has now quit. Half of the friendlies have quit the game.
Oh, man. That's concerning, but okay, yeah, fair enough. So
next question. There's something from Airy Square Alliance Gaming asking us what our favorite characters are and why.
My favorite character, I mean, everybody probably can answer that.
Yeah, I know that, Lilia.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why? Why is that the case? Why is a weak character your favorite?
I don't know. I think she has one of the coolest like the most unique personality. It's like this kind of Russian, British, tsundere kind of character, which really, I don't know, I think she just shined really well in the story as well. I think she has like one of the most unique personalities for me.
What about you, Lucky? I need some time to think on mine. I don't really have a favorite character, let's be real.
So, my favorite character is the Fool. He's like on a couple of my thumbnails. I think the Fool is goated because he's kind of a troll. He says some of the most random like voice lines. He's like, I just killed 1,000 enemies just right now. And also kit wise, I like his taunt with the corrosion. It goes off his max health. It's pretty cool. And I've literally beat content in Limbo with him, which also caters to how easy the game is. But the Fool is just really cool. I hope he gets a skin. He's a 3-star, so he'll probably get a skin.
Okay, I don't have much, but if there's a closest one I can think of is for Ananli. It's pretty cool. I think her concept is like from those horror like Hong Kong movies whereby you have like the Ghostbusters kind of like a concept, and she speaks Cantonese, which I happen to be Cantonese. So yeah, I think that's my favorite character when it comes to that. But yep, pretty much that about it. I think
Shemaine's not here yet, but like design wise, that dude's just a Giga Chad of the game.
Yeah, Shemaine's a Giga Chad.
Yeah, he's Shemaine's like best looking. Because like, I talk about Six, like I say Six looks like a background NPC, and I was like, if anything, no one's gonna summon Six because his design is like nothing. And then you have Shemaine, this like peak of like just human physique, and the dude just starts dancing on enemies. He's pretty cool. Yeah, so it would probably be like move to Shemaine, like just because he just looks so cool.
Yeah. Any other questions from your chat?
There's one question which I wanted to bring up before, except if there's a question from your chat, Lucky.
There was a bunch of stuff earlier, mainly about Psycubes and stuff. Yeah.
Let me just forward this one question to you, because I think you're the best person to answer that. Was it? Question. Fuck! Stop writing so much in Cocky's chat. Hello, question. How are you?
Are you talking? Or am I tripping?
Okay, I don't know, sorry. I was just looking for the question, I don't find it. But I think here's another interesting question because I think it applies to quite a few. I don't have any Beast DPS and don't have Centurion or Melania. Should I wait out or rush to get a 4-5-star alternative for all element DPS for free-to-play low spenders?
I think there's
if
a
you
better
can clear
question.
Limbo 4, probably there's no need to. I think I can answer this. If don't have Melania, no Centurion, you can wait for Charmaine. Comes up pretty soon, right? I guess less than 9 weeks.
Yeah,
less than 9 weeks. It's couple weeks. It's like 4-5 weeks, I think. 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks.
Okay, and then in the meantime, like right now, you don't really need Beast. Beast is like disadvantage in current Limbo, so it's not a big deal. You need Mineral, you need Star, so go in that direction. You don't need any Beast character, so wait for Charmaine. You should be fine. And honestly, I think in the future there will be reruns for Melania, so when it comes where there's a need for you, like for using her in raids, potentially you could get her. But 4-in-1 is not the best odds, let's be real, so wish you the best in getting your Melania.
I think a better question, well, not a better question, but another question is, yeah, like, is it necessary to for free to play to really worry about having an Afflatus every time a banner character comes up to summon for that character? It just really is like, how efficient are you like wanting to be like with like, you know, Limbo and raids? Like, because you could also do neutral as Afflatus and put a little bit more resources into those characters and beat it versus summoning. So that's where characters like, you know, everyone's sleeping on A Knight, but they don't realize how strong A Knight's going to be, because he can be that second character, especially with Balance Please. Because when Cocky brought that up, I did some research on A Knight. A Knight is ridiculous with Balance Please after looking at him, and people were worried about like in raids, because one person was asking like, well, the boss is at infinite health, so A Knight won't work. No, they actually have a bar that goes down and just resets. So A Knight still has a purpose in content. He's not commonly used because you could just replace him with the best in slot character. But see, that's the thing. A Knight can go anywhere. That's what makes A Knight for a free to play. Like if they, I'm suspecting or hoping they will in 1.6 launch a spirit character. If they put out another spirit DPS, those characters again, like this will be the first DPS where it's a very strong pull, because if you're missing elements, you can fit that spirit character wherever you need them. And then you're not worried about that. Same as 6. 6 is a buffer. He's not we talked about it yesterday. We had a great conversation on my stream. 6 is not the best buffer. He's not the best debuffer, but he can do both. So if you don't want to have to summon more supports, you can put 6 in your team, and he can help with a little healing, a little tank, a little damage. I think those intellect and spirit characters are really great placeholders for people.
Definitely. And on that point, a lot of people ask me why I don't pull for Changling or Changeling. The reason is also because I already have A Knight, and I think he serves a similar purpose for me, because I can definitely clear. Like, let's be real here, if I'm not clearing any Limbo, there is going to be a question that is going to be asked of my ability to play this game. But I don't foresee having any issues clearing any Limbo.
Don't talk about Riven like that, okay? He just started beating Limbo. We love Riven.
Hey, no. Hey, come on. That's a different thing. He's trying to go in without any healers. That's a different thing. But I'm going to say that A Knight, in my opinion, is higher than Changling for me. Like my A Knight is clearing content just fine. I even purposefully I'm trying to restrain myself from using TOOTHFAIRY in the Limbo, and I'm still able to clear it. I'm using Sotheby just for info, and I'm using Necrologist. I can still clear Limbo. That there is nothing stopping me from
nerfing
clearing
yourself
it.
With your A Knight.
I'm nerfing myself. By the way, I am nerfing myself on purpose so that I could have some fun in the game.
Look, he's like, I'm trying to have fun and make good content.
Yes.
Just letting y'all know, I solo the game with A Knight.
I am trying to have fun, trying to make the best of it. But yeah, I think we are down to 5 minutes. We can have one last question. Do you guys have anyone? If not, I have a question in my chat.
Let's take one question from Lucky Lux.
Yeah. Lucky, you can take one from yours.
Wait. There was one question, but that's kind of a spender question. Nah, I don't see any good questions from previous stuff. Let's go to Cocky. If you got 2 of them, go ahead. Or
I only have I think this one Riff kind of answered. So Jun over here, what other gachas are you guys playing, even if you don't create content for it? Like Riff, you already answered, you can go with it first.
Yeah, so for me, I play HSR.
What other gachas are you guys playing? Yeah.
Yeah, what other or games generally? It was the games.
Right? Yeah, games doesn't have to be gachas.
So for gachas, I personally play a lot of HSR and Genshin, basically just 100%ing everything which I have left in the new patch. Otherwise, I've been playing the ZZZ beta so far, and occasionally with friends, I play stuff like Played Up or Don't Starve Together, which are not.
I see. What about you, Lucky? Yeah.
I used to play Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, but I stopped spending in those, so I could, I guess, spend in R99. But on my free time, I play Smite. Just enjoyed the new god, Bake Kujira. I play Remnant. I'm playing Remnant 2 right now. I'm playing Baldur's Gate with some friends. I play Wolong, a lot of Dark Souls-like games. A little Overwatch 2 with the buddies. This is like every kind of weekend that I do.
I see.
So I play a lot of different games. Other than gachas, like I kind of stopped playing gachas.
I want to add, I forgot TFT. Sometimes I do play TFT.
Oh, you're playing TFT? Like what rank are you?
Every half year. Solo, I've been somewhere between Platinum and Diamond, but that was before Emerald was introduced.
Yeah.
And like with a friend of mine, where I usually just do
play
double up, we have been mid to high diamond.
I see. I think on my end, I honestly haven't been playing any other gacha games. So there's no gacha games that are fun. And then R99 is just like maintenance mode, make some content here and there. I'm currently a bit more busy. I'm preparing for a final interview. But regardless for that, other than that, I'm playing Dragon Quest. I just started. I bought Dragon Quest the other day. So I'm playing Dragon Quest Monsters, the new one, the Dark Prince. And it's pretty fun. Like, honestly, I don't want to like benchmark it against Pokemon because I feel like every other like monster tamer game is better than Pokemon. But yeah, it's better than Pokemon. And I've played all like throughout the whole series. I've played.
Hey, relax yourself there, buddy.
Wait, are we talking about non-PC games as well?
Well, it's Switch. Yeah, I guess it's a game.
The Lux in my name from Luxray.
Oh, I see. Okay,
let's calm down. The Pokemon
you haven't played Dragon Quest. That's why. Yeah, you need to be exposed to some actual good games.
If we go into Pokemon, we can talk about Pokemon for hours. I have been playing competitive.
I see the Mew
Pokemon.
and the Larvitar.
Yo, you know it's 1 versus 2 here. Two of you are Pokemon. Like
Cocky hates Pokemon.
I'm at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Clip it. He hates Pokemon. He hates.
I did play the latest Pokemon, like the Scarlet. I did play that, but
you don't play the latest Pokemon. You just watch a slideshow because more than 2 FPS are not possible.
Yeah, but honestly, it is not fun. I'll be honest, it is not fun. Nintendo is putting out some shit content in Pokemon because they are not spending enough time on it. They could be the very best.
I'm not gonna lie.
No one ever was.
So Scarlet and Violet had really good story. Like the story was probably the best in any Pokemon game so far. The question is just if you have ever gotten to that point because you have just been watching a slideshow for the first 50 hours. I think that is the biggest problem.
Pretty much. I think that
my last favorite gameplay wise, Sword and Shield was cool with the raids, but Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire adding in everybody and having all the I'm a dude who's still stuck on the megas. I know the megas were broken, but just design wise they were cool.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And after that, every gimmick they added has been mid. Gigantamax, Dynamax was dumb in some aspects. The Terrestrialize is,
from a competitive point of view, Terrestrialization is really cool.
It is.
Competitive Pokemon is pretty decent. I would say RNG is still a problem, but regardless, It's still fun.
What
okay,
do you
I'll
mean
give that to
by RNG?
Pokemon.
Scarlet and
But the
Violet
main
had...
game, the main game itself, like at this point, they are releasing main games so that people will have to buy it to play competitively. Okay, that's my view of Pokemon right now.
Yeah,
the main game is trash, yo. The main game is trash.
Someone asked a good point. Not a good. Someone asked a question. Any future gacha games to watch out for in 2024?
Yes, Honkai Impact 3rd Part 2 as well as ZZZ.
ZZZ is not.
It's
not looking good.
No, ZZZ is looking very good. It's just very different. Yes, it is looking good. However, it is not what...
Wuthering Waves. Someone's
I was gonna say,
how
do y'all feel about Project Mugen, Wuthering Waves, Arknight's Infield, like kind of open world ones? How do y'all feel about those?
Wuthering Waves, I think, will be really difficult to say as of right now, because every game which starts dipping into the open world, there was a Reddit thread recently. The problem is open world needs to be really well done, or it is just there to exist, so it doesn't matter. And I think Wuthering Waves has like its own certain niche, which it tries to play into, and I think they have to, because they will probably not nail the open world part, because it's really difficult.
I think there's a really big problem with Wuthering Waves that's kind of interesting. So if you look at Wuthering Waves has the same kind of style as Punishing Gray Raven, where the colors are a little bland. If you just kind of compare it to like Genshin specializes in having those Nintendo colors, those really bright and vibrant colors in the open world. Wuthering Waves
is very dark, right?
Huh?
It's kind of dark.
Yeah, and so because I think open world games, like, you have to have something where like casuals just won't mind walking around and just like having fun. Genshin kind of like with that just bright and just like kind of fairy like colors. Oh, there goes Steam Bun. With those bright and fairy colors, like it attracts.
Yeah, we are about to end though.
Yeah, it attracts more people. Whereas like WWW, like Wuthering Waves, like it has even like, but like even the characters don't. Not all the characters look amazing, and they don't like attract a lot of people. Like there's only maybe like 1 or 2 characters in Wuthering Waves where I'm just like, oh yeah, those characters are really cool.
That's fair.
But I think the colors matter for that open world, because like Tower of Fantasy,
he did it. He's there.
The buns is here.
Because Tower of Fantasy
shortly before
had an
we
open
end.
world, but that game didn't do as well. Hey, Steam Bun.
Steam A.
Let me turn this down. I'm so sorry. I had 3 alarms. I still couldn't wake up. Might have slept too late yesterday. Oof.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we are shortly
you
about
you have
to
your
end
voice. Yeah, but we are going to end soon. But
we'll
actually, not soon. It's like right now.
We'll get you back though.
Yeah, we'll get you back again.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No problem. No problem.
Might have spent too much time playing a pay-to-win game, but
this guy. It's all good,
all right.
Bro. But we'll get you. Yeah, we were just kind of talking just to end out the stream. But guys, we will post next time we have a stream. So obviously we'll have maybe, do you guys think we should, if we have time looking at schedules, we could do one, I guess, sooner to get Steam Bun? Because a lot of people have been asking about Yahoo.
I'll have to look into it. Yeah. We will see how it goes again. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in for the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed. And also, like next time we'll definitely have Steam Buns again.
Yeah, I do. Yes. I do apologize. That I had 3 alarms. I couldn't wake up from it. So,
don't worry. We will get you in on the next one. Let's see. We will just. Okay. The chat requires Steam to say anything. Please, it's your word to say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah. Just a minute.
Well, sorry about not showing up properly, but I will be. Here's a quick I guess a quick preview of my video just to tell you guys. I'm currently working on a quick story summary for 1.2. Hopefully I will be able to continue to do that, but that's what I'm working on right now. For those people who wanted Voyager guide, And after Ezra, I will be also covering more of the meta stuff about, what the future of four-man team will be. But yeah.
Yeah. You and I have talked about the 1.5 stuff. Like, you've hopped into the streams. Game's really interesting what they're doing right now. We'll see Ezra, if he'll be useful or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, Chinese New Year is going to be Chinese New Year is going to be the next patch.
I'm sorry, guys. I have to drop off already.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys can
Oh
continue.
yeah, sorry, I saw you, Cocky. Yeah, I know you're busy.
Please.
All right, you're good, bro.
Yeah, I have to drop off. See you guys.